to Sugar Coated. I'm your host, Adrienne Garland, the CEO and founder of She Leads Media. For far too long, women have been conditioned to sugarcoat their words, their actions, and the way they show up in the world, and to conform to certain cultural norms and ideals. This is inherently designed to keep those who are outside of the norm from gaining power, prestige, wealth, and influence, preventing more women from being recognized and respected as the powerful leaders that we truly are. Join me each week as we dive into raw conversations with remarkable, uncompromising, and inspirational women that will encourage you to strip away your sugarcoating and move boldly in the direction of your magnificent dreams. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Sugar Coated. I'm so excited to share my next guest with you. You've met her before. Her name is Yuri Chu Su. And Yuri is actually a member of the She Leads Media team. She helps me out with some podcast marketing. She is an operations guru. And I was introduced to her by my dear friend, Jennifer Dawn, who has a podcast here on the She Leads Podcast Network as well. Jennifer's podcast is called Happy Productive. And if you have not listened, I highly recommend that you tune in. Jennifer has a top 5% podcast worldwide, and she brings on some pretty incredible guests. And being a pretty incredible person herself, you can see why. So take a listen to Happy Productive, and also take a listen into some of the other podcasts that are on the She Leads Podcast Network. Those would be Therapy Deconstructed with Dr. Bonnie Wims. You will learn everything that you need to know about therapy and demystify what it isn't and figure out what it is and determine whether that is good for you or somebody that you know that might be struggling. We also have a podcast called Creative Visionaries, hosted by Tori Barker. I highly recommend that you tune in with that as well. There's some really great things coming in 2024 from Tori. And also Ravel Radio, hosted by Kara Steinman. This too is an incredible podcast hosted by a wonderfully creative, brilliant woman, Kara Steinman. And she has a thriving community that I am a part of. And it's actually how I met Tori Barker. So lots of great things happening on the She Leads Podcast Network, including this podcast that you're listening to right here called Sugar Coated. And we also have some very interesting things that will be changing and updating throughout 2024. So without further ado, I'd like to just share and open up this conversation, this sort of final conversation that I've had with Yuri Chu Su. And the reason that I say it's final is because it's the third in a series of Yuri's journey around the world, literally. Yuri participated in a program called Remote Year. What is Remote Year? Well, it's pretty incredible. It is a program, travel community with other digital nomads, and Remote Year brings together remote workers and digital nomads as a community to work and explore in over 80 destinations around the world, 1 month at a time. Working remotely and traveling solo can be daunting, time-consuming, and isolating, so Remote Year takes care of all of that planning for you. So Yuri actually did the entire Remote Year. You don't have to do a Remote Year. You can do a month at a time or 3 months at a time, but Yuri chose to go on this journey around the world, and this journey, I would say, within herself. So take a listen into this revealing, genuine, vulnerable conversation that Yuri and I have. And I am so honored that she chose to share her story with us. Hello. So I am here today with Yuri Chu Su, who has just recently completed her year traveling around the world with an incredible program called Remote Year. And Remote Year brings together digital nomads and remote workers to explore over 80 destinations 1 month at a time. And Yuri, you chose to embark upon this journey and kind of go all in, right? You didn't just choose a month. You chose to go for an entire year.
Yeah.
So that means 12 different countries. And I know that you're in another place even now, so it's more than that. And we did speak a couple of months in and then another couple of months in about sort of where you were in the world and where you were like on this journey. And I'm so happy and honestly grateful to be talking to you today because not a lot of people do this in their lives, right? This is something extraordinary. And you were able to travel to work and to probably discover things about others and yourself that you had no idea about. So I kind of want to start with maybe where you are right now and then talk about some of the lessons or the insights that you had. And then maybe we can dive into anything that kind of really stands out to you. So where are you right now?
Well, thank you for having me back and doing this with me to help me capture this journey that I've been on. I am currently in Buenos Aires, Argentina, which was not part of the journey. And when people hear that, I've chosen to at least settle here for a little bit. And when people hear that, they're surprised because I went all over and I chose somewhere completely different to kind of settle in. But I guess a lesson that I've learned from my experience is that sometimes when you plan out life, the expectations that you have are not going to come out as is. And that's a huge, huge lesson that I walked away with. I went into the experience with, I guess, just this list of expectations that I had. And some came true, some didn't come true. And it just comes to show that plan just always has its own plan for you. Life has its own plan for you, and it might not coincide with what you have in mind.
So let's almost go back to, a little bit more than a year ago when you made the decision to do this remote year, when you said to yourself, you know what, I am going to go all in and I'm going to do this. Do you remember sort of where you were and what was the thing that made you make that decision that you were going to go for it?
Yeah, I vividly remember I was actually in Bali. I was there for 4 months in 2022, and remote year was beginning in September 2022. And I remember this was in June. And up in this point, I had known about this particular journey that remote year was offering for about 9 months, I would say. And I'd contemplated it. I'd mapped out like the finances and everything. And ultimately, it was a gut instinct. I just knew I was meant to do it. And the biggest push was the fact that the program that I did was named my name.
Yeah.
So it's called the Yuri program, and it's quite an unbelievable reality that I lived for a year and that I will always live with for the rest of my life. So Remote Year does these different journeys with different durations, different itineraries, and they're called something after a famous person or a city, somebody who left a legacy behind. And the program that I did was called the Yuri program.
Oh my God.
So in many ways, this was a divinely guided journey. And I just knew that if I didn't do it, I would forever wonder. I would forever think about it and think, what if? And that's just not the kind of person that I am. So I decided to do it, to enroll. I paid my deposit at this point. And I remember I was flying from, after Bali, I was going to go to Thailand. So from Thailand, I had to buy a plane ticket to the first destination. And when I bought that first plane ticket, that was my way of telling myself and the universe, like, hey, I'm doing this. I'm committing to this year-long journey. And I had to convert the price of the flight into Canadian dollars. and the flight price was 888.88.
Oh my God. Really? I don't think you ever told me that. Wow.
So I got chills all over my body, and then I knew that I was for sure meant to do it.
Oh my God. Talk about
Yeah.
signs, right?
And I have multiple major sign stories, like two major ones throughout that happened after the program started. But yeah, it was.
Well, we're going to get there. Let's
We'll
get
get
to
there.
those, what those signs are. Cause I love this, right? Because I think that there is definitely some magic that happens, and that there is something guiding us toward what we need to do for our higher and best selves. And, whatever anybody believes, when a program is literally named your name,
Mm-hmm.
and then, these crazy eights, right? All in alignment. Like 8 is infinity, right? It has special meaning. I mean, these are all signs. And the fact that you invested in yourself in this way is so interesting, right? And, you're not a college student going on a travel abroad. You are a more mature person that has lived your life. And it's something that people do maybe when they're younger, traditionally, when they're younger, or maybe even when they're older after they've sort of had their careers. But you did it at a time when, you, I think, and it's post-pandemic and all of that, were trying to figure out what's my place in life? What's my place in this world? And I think getting out and getting outside of your comfort zone, which I know at times was not comfortable, right? I think it helped you to realize something, or a multitude of things about other people and yourself. So if you could, sort of think about in this whole journey, what were maybe the top 3 things, or it could be 1, 2, 3, that you learned about you?
Yeah. Okay. What is coming up for me when I think about that question is that I really did see how much I can survive through, because traveling, yes, it's amazing, it's incredible, but it's also really difficult. It's a lot of adjustment. It is a lot of getting out of your comfort zone. And at times I really struggled for a multitude of reasons. And, I'm still here today telling the tale. I survived. I'm a survivor. I'm a warrior. So it really showed to me how much resilience I have. And I do have to give myself a pat on the back, because it was not easy. As incredible as it was definitely such a challenging journey to be able to navigate just so many dynamics, people, time zones, cultures, what I was going through internally. And I just saw my strength through it all. So I think that's one of the biggest things I took away from that. Another thing that I learned about myself is how adaptable I can be, literally going from country to country, speaking different languages, navigating different everything at the flip of a switch, like being an Asian one day and being an African the other. It's like, it's fast. So being able to just navigate through that, and also knowing when I need to step back. So knowing how to recharge, knowing how to say no, learning how to put up boundaries, one of the things that remote here told us is to embrace JOMO, which stands for the joy of missing out. So instead of FOMO, of the fear of missing out, it's JOMO. So you don't have to do everything, and that's okay. And I think really being able to be okay with that has actually really helped me post remote year, For example, I'm currently in a new country, in a new city, and when you're in a new place, you just want to do everything, meet people, see things. And now I'm so not that person. I'm just giving myself the space to just nest, to take it easy, take it slow. And I think remote year really, really helped me become this evolved version of myself where it's okay to take things slow. It's okay to recharge, even if that means not going out or not doing things that people normally do in any place.
I think that's so interesting because, like, I mean, I know you, and when you talk about, you're brave, you're strong, you're adaptable, you're resilient, I would have said those things about you before you even went on this journey, And so it's really interesting that I think you were that person, but maybe you just didn't see it.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good reflection.
Yeah, because it's funny how we don't necessarily see those things about ourselves until we almost like put ourselves in these uncomfortable situations where there is no doubt, right? Nobody can question you ever now, right? You're confident in your resiliency. You're confident in your adaptability. And I think
Mm.
that maybe that's what the difference is. It was always there. And I bet you, of all the things that you learned, it wasn't that you became something that is brand new and different, but it's almost like you opened up to what you already are.
That is very well put. And thank you for that reflection. And what came up to me as you were sharing that is something that I've thought of post remote year is that it really solidified my sense of self. It really mirrored me to me. And I love that you said that these were things, qualities in me that I had before traveling. It's not like I changed. It's more
Right.
so that I embraced who I really am. First, acknowledging that these qualities are in me and then really embracing it. So
I love
stronger
that
sense of
so
self.
much. Oh, that's so good. I wonder, like, not everybody has the ability or the desire to, do something like this for a year. And I'm sure that there were things that came up for you, like, if you were to sort of give someone else who was maybe, unsure of who they were or who they wanted to become, what are some of the things that you feel that you learned that are like applicable if someone's just kind of staying where they are but wanting that deeper knowledge of themselves?
Mm. I think curiosity is huge. Just being curious about what's out there, what does a different life feel like, a different way of doing things. Travel obviously just opens up that part of your brain in such a intense way. And I see people who do travel who are not curious, who are not open-minded. Like, people who, when they travel, they go to all inclusives and they just stay at the hotel and they just stay in their own bubble. And I think that's what differentiates like a traveler and someone who just vacations. A real traveler, I think, really immerses themselves in the new culture, or at least is curious, asks questions, talks to local people. And I think by doing that, you really impart curiosity within you.
So good. It's so good. And like, yes, yes, yes. I think that is the key to it all. It's like not only curiosity, but like that enthusiastic curiosity, like, oh my God, that's different. And maybe you even say, that's weird. I don't understand it. Let me find out a little bit more about what's going on here.
Yeah, and it's not just external curiosity, it's also internal curiosity. That's the underlying goal there. It's, can I live my life in a different way, in a way that is more aligned to who I am authentically? Can I react to situations that in the past have always triggered me with more space, more compassion? Can I do things in a different way? I think that is ultimately a quality in me that I've always had that has led me to take travels like this or journeys like this. I wouldn't be the person I am today without having that innate curiosity.
Mm, so good. So, what is like, I would like to know, and of course, for you too, and maybe something for you to, remember. So, like, did things come up that in the past may have triggered whatever within you, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
anger or frustration or fear or whatever, that still triggered you, but you almost recognized like, like I see it now and why it's triggering me. And let me think about that. Like, what are some of the specifics?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, that word trigger. That has been a huge, huge word this year, this past year of travel. I feel like all my triggers at some point or the other just came to the surface.
Mm,
And triggers really are opportunities to dive deeper into it's either a wound that's not been healed, a trauma that's still kind of there that needs more curiosity, that needs more, more compassion. And some specific triggers I'll very openly share were jealousy. I definitely felt jealous of the people who I was around, whether it was a physical jealousy or seeing partners like couples. For some
mm.
reason, I was in a group that everyone seemed to couple up.
Oh no.
And that can be triggering for someone who does not have a couple. So I definitely had to navigate through a lot of that. And it
Mm.
wasn't easy always, for sure. You can only imagine, being the third wheel, the fifth wheel, seventh wheel, ninth wheel, 11th wheel.
Oh my
Literally, there were so many couples.
God.
And, I had to really just look at that and think, why is this bothering me so much?
Mm,
And have I done anything wrong with this? Where is this really stemming from? Also, triggers in the sense of friendship, female
mm,
friendship. I also
mm,
did struggle with that at some point or the other. And it really brought up to the surface where those stemmed from, which for me was university years, which is, years ago. And it's
yeah.
like, okay, like there's something still there that I have to heal through and doing things like therapy and doing like a lot of journaling, inner child work, really
Mm,
being able to talk about these things and not just brush them to the side or like not acknowledge them, but really take that as an opportunity to uncover something that needs deeper work. And one of the biggest things that I learned was how important compassion really is,
mm,
because a past version of myself would navigate these triggers with a lot of shame and guilt. Like, oh, aren't you over that already? Why is this still
mm.
bothering you? And that does not create any space for you to work through anything. And I have to learn by the hard way, that doesn't work. Like,
Yeah.
just because it's coming up doesn't mean I'm any less worthy or I haven't done enough work on myself. It just means it's an opportunity to do deeper work, and having compassion with myself really allowed me to do that.
It's almost like when you said that, it's like that's a totally different voice than you. Like, that's not you asking those questions. Shouldn't you be over that already? That's not Yuri.
And recognizing that, right? It's like, who
Yeah.
is that? Who is that from my past? Is it, a
Or is it
parent? Is it
society?
society?
Yeah.
Peer pressure? I should be married by this age. Like, yes, understanding that it's not me
Yeah.
always. Sometimes it can be, but not always. It's a lot of us, all of us are programmed in a very
All of
specific way.
us.
So
Yeah.
much programming, right? And
Yeah.
really creating space when that thought comes up. Hey, is that me? Hey, do I have to believe that? Do I have to act on that?
Yeah. That's interesting. The idea of like the fact that you can have thoughts and you can even verbalize them, but you don't have to act on them and you don't have to believe that that is your only thought. You can have other thoughts as
Yeah.
well and make more room for those more helpful thoughts because they're all there. And it's like, it's just like everything. It's like, what we focus on grows. So we should choose to focus on the thoughts that help us instead of that lead us down this path of shame. And why we make ourselves suffer is beyond me. Like, what is it in our makeup that we have that default setting to like shame ourselves and make ourselves feel bad? And like, how has that like adapted us as a human species to keep going? I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a fight or flight, innate fight or flight in us. Our reptilian brain just wants to help us in some way to not feel pain again, so protect us. But ultimately, it drives us to feel the pain. So it's very counterintuitive, and really understanding that. And again, coming back to compassion, that, hey, this ultimately is just trying to protect me.
Yeah. And that is what it is, but it does it in such a convoluted manner. It is completely backwards. And I think too, there's a little bit of like the tribal part of it. So it's like you feel shame about these things so that you don't disrupt the tribe that you're part of. Like, oh, I feel jealous. I shouldn't feel jealous. I should be over this already, because our survival mechanism is trying to keep us with the tribe. But we don't have tribe. I mean, we do, but we can create our own tribes. No one's going to kick you out, and you can leave and be safe, and no one's going to, harm you or anything like that. But we have to recognize that is at play. Do you think that you would have gotten to some of these like recognitions on your own eventually?
Eventually, who knows and how much longer. But I really do think that travel is it can be such a fast track to healing, to looking at all your shit, to really facing your demons, really, really dead on, head on. Like, it's almost like a mirror that reflects back you to you. There's no escaping yourself when you are traveling. I think that's something that we talked about in like the first podcast that we did. Like, wherever you are, there you are. Really, like all your problems are there with you. Travel can be like a shiny kind of distraction or like a band-aid solution if you're trying to not feel whatever it is you're hiding. But ultimately, you are there wherever you go, no matter how beautiful the sight is.
Right. And after 12 countries or 13 or 14 or however many you've done, like over the last, 14, 18 months.
It was 20 months straight for me, actually.
20?
It was a 20-month journey. I counted, and I actually counted even more. I kept a list of all the beds I slept in, all the flights I took. And I left Toronto in April of 2022, and I came back in October of 2023. So that was about 20 months. And I took 80 flights, and I slept in 90 beds.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I think I did 23 countries, but the other stats are crazier.
Was there anything that was like, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, but that you felt like either I'm home or this is my place or like this is the most comfortable bed that I've ever slept in? Was there anything that was like a standout?
Yeah. Yeah, it instantly came to me in Colombia. I really liked Medellin. And you were in Bogota. You didn't go to Medellin, right? But you went to Bogota.
Yeah.
And we almost like overlapped, I think. Medellin was amazing. And that was month 11 for me. So a lot of the shit that I had to go through, I had really like worked through. And that month felt like such a gift. It was crazy because 6 different people from different parts of my life somehow were in Medellin at the same time.
Oh my God.
So I got to have reunion after reunion after reunion. Someone from Toronto, a really dear friend of mine came to visit me for about a week and a half. Someone who I met in my travels, a bunch of people who I met in my travels. And I got to just live so much life in 1 month. And then we were also located in the central area of Medellin. So there was music and it was vibrant. And the co-work was super close to me and my roommates were amazing. I
Oh,
thrived. And
oh,
it's the one place that after Argentina, I might even go back to. And
oh,
that's saying a
yeah.
lot. So, yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. The weather, it was also eternal spring, they call it in there. So it's just
Mm.
beautiful. I did horseback riding. I
Oh,
paraglided. It was,
oh my God.
I think
Wow.
I paraglided on the second last day that I was there, maybe second last day. And I'm having this incredible month. Just, it felt like such a gift in so many ways. And I'm like gliding through the city, overlooking everything. And I literally have like tears out of my eyes of just like
Oh,
having this moment of look at all the things I've gotten to see in my life. And it was just such a moment of gratitude and it was beautiful and I'll always have fond memories of that.
oh my God. It's like you literally like ascended and
Yeah.
were able to like look down on everything. Like that's
Oof.
amazing.
Yeah, and talk about ascension because the prior month, and we're gonna go there, but the prior month I did ayahuasca. And
Oh,
ayahuasca was when I really faced everything head on. Really, really
yeah.
did some deep, deep, deep inner work, the deepest I've ever done and hardest I've ever done. But afterwards, I was literally on a whole new plane, on a whole new frequency, had just let go of so much that I was holding on to, understood so much of my life, my existence, my purpose. And now I'm in
Yeah.
this beautiful place. And I felt like literally I was being gifted all these
Oh,
experiences and people and connection and love. And it was magical.
oh my, it sounds like absolute magic. And you almost needed like everything in its order, in its time, sort of,
Yeah.
divinely was laid out for you. And that is something interesting too, right? Because there has to be some level of trust that whatever's happening, good, bad, indifferent, it's like that is when it is supposed to be happening. And to really
Yeah.
lean into that, that's so difficult to do because, you know, I'm a control freak. I think that you
So
are not a
many of us.
control freak, but you
I mean, we all have our
you
own
like order.
attachment. Yeah, I like order. We all have our, our attachment to what control is in our lives, right? And wow, when you travel, there are some things that you just cannot control. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was I think it wasn't as hard for me as other people, but I think it's also been like a muscle that I've just had to really like work through. It's like, okay, I
Mm,
cannot control this. I can either stress about it, worry about it, or just let it be and just trust that it's happening for a reason. Um, Somebody said this to me before I embarked on the remote ears program, and it's something that stuck with me. And she is really spiritual, and she says, "Thank you for the highest outcome that has already happened."
mm, wow.
Just understanding that whatever has happened is for the highest good, and just being
Yeah.
grateful for it, even if you don't understand it, even if it's not what you thought it would be, or if it's for some reason bringing you whatever it is, like negativity or difficult emotions, but for some reason, this is happening in the grand scheme of things. And, if I were to think back at my year-long adventure in remote year, there were moments where I really just was not understanding why is this
Yeah.
happening? Why is it not happening? Blah, blah, blah. But now in the grand scheme of things, having, hindsight, it's like, okay, it all was there for a reason. It all made sense. But it's so
I
hard to
really
see that in the moment.
I really wish we were sort of taught this from a young age. Like I feel like we could avoid so much pain and suffering if we had it didn't have to be a full understanding because we're young and learning, but if there is some way for us to say like, look, whatever is happening. Like let me just kind of move through it and know that there's something to be learned here. Because I mean, I even think, we both had experiences with jobs that we were like, why did that happen? Why, and you're in it and you don't see it until afterwards. And even with relationships with people, and like sometimes things we say, like, wait, like, why did I say that? What was I doing? What was I thinking? And it is coming from a different place, I think. And we don't give ourselves time to step back and reflect on it. That's what's missing.
Yeah, I can so agree. The time to reflect. Wow.
Yeah.
So many people are just running, reacting, hustle and bustle, no time. And I mean, I get it. Life is complex. Life is hard. We have jobs. We have relationships. People have kids, responsibilities. It's a lot to handle. Being human is hard.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I've really, really just acknowledged this past year, 2 years. It's like being human in itself is complex. Yeah. So giving ourselves the luxury of time to slow down and to just be in whatever way that feels good for you is so needed. That's why self-care is so important. Yeah. And no matter what you're going through, even just 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes, just to take a breath and just really ground, it goes a long, long way, because so many people, like I said, are just reacting, are just in this dog world.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm definitely
I don't
one of them.
blame you. You're navigating a lot of things. I mean, and also, having a lot on your plate, a job, wife, children, she leads. I mean, that's a whole undertaking, the conference.
But it's funny, like even listening to you, and I'm sure that you had a lot of conversations with people like over, these last 20 months, but so much of what we do, we like spin up ourselves. Like this wasn't like dumped on me. Like all the things that I do and have, and that I'm busy, like they didn't just come out of nowhere. I spun all this crap up, and then I complain about it. And it's like the only person to blame for all of that is me. And it's like, why did I do that? How is that benefiting me? And what is the complaining about being so busy and having so much to do? How is that like benefiting me? It's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And it's true. It's like, it's the mirror. Like, because when I listen to people, I'm so busy, I get annoyed at like listening to them. And then I'm like, wait a minute, like that's how I sound. It's crazy.
So self-reflection. It's like, why are you doing all these things? There must be a reason, obviously, why you're doing them, right? And is it worth it?
Yeah. And I think, I'm a little older than you, but I think as I get older, I'm starting to realize like, wait a minute, you don't need to be doing all of these things. It's actually harming you, relationships, things you want to do. And it makes me reflect, like, what can I clear from my plate? Because my plate is piled and I can't eat it all.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I'm kind of wondering, like, the people that you met, some I'm sure you're still in touch with. Others, like they say, for a season, for a reason. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So like who are, and it doesn't have, no naming names or anything like that, but who are some of the people that maybe you met for a time and they made you think about something, or they were like a great friend for like, 2 days.
Yeah.
Right? And then like, and then who are some of the people that you're still in touch with?
Yeah.
Right? Like those two things, think about those two almost like categories of acquaintances, friends, relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and just talk to me.
Yeah. So my best friend in the program, I'm still in touch with him, of course. And our second conversation, which was, I think, a week into the year, we just knew there was something there. And nothing beyond a platonic relationship, but he's someone who I respect dearly, and I really look up to him, and I saw him go through his own journey, and we were definitely mirrors for each other. We went through very similar struggles together, and we have very different journeys as well, but it was just so nice to be able to have someone, and just you can peel back the facade and peel back the layers and just talk soul to soul. And I'll always love our journey together, and yeah, he's great. A year ago, we were living together in Cape Town, which is when we recorded our last podcast.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he's incredible. I had like my little group who were great as well. And on our last day, in very Yuri fashion, I asked to do like a sharing circle. And that was really, really sweet, where we all went around and talked about our experience, and everyone cried, of course, because it was like the end of a year, and we all went through so much. But that's a special group. And just today, that person who I just mentioned, my best friend, his girlfriend just reached out to do like a Christmas call, so we're all still in touch. And that's really sweet. And a bunch of us just saw each other too recently, which was crazy because it wasn't really planned, but we were all like in the same place, so that was really cool. The people who I roomed with in Medellin, they're part of my soul for sure. I mean, you get to experience so much with these people that there's no way you're not going to be bonded.
Yeah.
And then there were some people who I met who knows if I'll ever see again, who knows if I'll ever speak to. But for the moment, the day or the hours that we connected, it was like, whoa, like a portal opened.
Yeah.
Some of these people, I've not even spoken to since I last saw them, but we shared something really powerful together. And I'm just so grateful for those experiences that just really expanded me and made my heart like beat faster, beat louder almost.
Yeah. Right. Because I have had those experiences for 100% sure. And the way that I think about it is like, I don't know whether they're angels on earth or whatever, but it almost shows you that people are good, like it's simple. But if you are open and they're open and you're having some type of a shared experience, like people are good and they'll give you a helping hand or like show you where to go to be safe or like listen to you talk because you just need to get something off your chest. And whether you see them ever again, that's not the point. The point isn't that every single person that you meet, you have to have like this lifelong relationship with. Because they're little like, it's like Candyland.
It's like nuggets of gold, almost like pots of gold. Pots of gold. I think that's the term that I used. It's like because you don't get that many of them, so they really are just like surprises. Like, oh, whoa, I wasn't planning on turning left in the street, and then I now have this person who shared something, and I feel really connected. And you can't plan these things. You don't. It's almost like the beauty of surprise, element of surprise of life. And that's one thing that I also really learned is that you're not going to vibe with everybody you meet. You're not going to like them. They might not like you. You're not going to connect. And that's totally okay. And I think the older that I get, it's like that I understand that just so much more. That most people I'm not going to have a deep experience with because, to be honest, most people are simply not as open as I am.
Yeah.
Not to put myself on like a different pedestal or anything, but I'm just a really open person and a lot of people aren't. And that can almost intimidate them or push them away. And when I was younger, I would take that as, am I doing something wrong? Am I being too much? And it's like, no, I'm just being myself. And that's not everyone's cup of tea. And that's totally okay. Just really accepting me for me and embracing me. And and knowing that the right people will want me around.
Yeah. That's a big lesson.
Huge.
And also sometimes because you are so open and you are you, and that is intimidating to people because not everybody shows up as themselves, right? Not everybody, that many people have this facade, this image that they're trying to portray about who they are. And so when they come across someone that is maybe just, further along on the journey, and we're not talking about being better or anything like that, but maybe just further along on a self-awareness journey, it's jarring to them. How can she be like that? What's her motive? Because they're thinking and reacting to you from their point of view. And that's like a huge realization too, right?
Yes. And something that's coming up for me, which is a huge lesson, is that people always act based on them. People always act based on them.
Yeah.
100%. So taking things personally or, being offended, yeah, people can be mean and sometimes it is directed, sure. But when it's not, most of the time, they're just reacting based on what's coming up for them, based on their programming, their childhood, their whatever it is. And just really being able to witness that. And that just alleviates so much pressure. Like, hey, you're doing you, and we might not be colliding at this point, but that's okay. That doesn't mean that I did anything wrong.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean like, even if they're coming at you or like not nice or whatever, that it's like, that's okay. Like, no skin off my back because I'm doing me too. And it allows you to move forward and not get stuck there. I know that I suffer and suffered from that. Like, why don't they like me? What did I do wrong? And it's like you start ruminating, and what a waste of energy.
Oh my gosh. What a waste of energy.
Power. Yeah. Just move on.
Yeah. Easier said than done. But yes,
totally.
I think the more work you've done on yourself, the lighter it is to navigate through these almost quicksand moments, I kind of call them. Like you never know when to just suck you in. You're just like going about your day and you're like, oh, I'm stuck here now. And how do I navigate this? If I move too fast, if I freak out, if I react, I'm going to get sucked in deeper. Let me take a breath. Let me, give some space and act in a not such a reactive way.
Yeah. And think about everything that's coming up for you about that situation and being okay with almost expressing it. Because I think sometimes that's part of it too. Like I'm pissed. Okay. You don't have to not be pissed. First be pissed and then try to understand. Don't try to tamp down that you're angry.
Oh, so good. And what's coming up for me now, it's something that I went through on my last month. And I don't get angry easily. It does not happen for me. I'm just not that person. But something happened that really got me angry. Yeah. And it happened with somebody who was part of my group. So that really that really was tough to navigate through. And it was an opportunity for me to really stand up for myself. Which is something that I don't typically do. I don't like confrontation. I'll just brush it off. But it was something that I felt like I could not move past it until I acknowledged it and I addressed it. Gosh. So, and this was the last month. So it was just such a opportunity, and I couldn't back out from it. So yeah, I had really tough conversations, and I had to navigate through difficult emotions and acknowledge that what happened did not feel good for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I don't navigate through. I don't go through often, if ever, but I think it was such a push towards acknowledging how far I've come in my own evolution.
Yeah.
And that I needed to release this for me to really move forward. Otherwise, I would have just held it all in, and it would have, changed my experience, how the remote year ended for me, my relationship with this person, and I didn't want to end that way.
It's almost like that. Like I think of the cornucopia of emotions and like giving yourself permission to feel them all, like not just 80% of them or 90% or
Or the
98% of
good
them, but
ones, you know.
what? Yeah, only the appropriate ones, right?
Ugh.
Like anger. It was like
Ugh.
the last, it was like the holdout, you know? And
The
it's like,
last
no,
one
no,
I
no.
didn't click. It's
Yeah.
like I had to just scratch that one off. The whole wheel of emotions. It's like, no,
Yeah.
Miriam, this is one chunk that you haven't really
Yep.
processed. You get to be
Yeah.
angry now. How do you navigate through it?
So
Ooh,
cool. It's like I see this as almost like there's so many different layers and it is such a journey on so many different levels, but it's like it's all about navigation, right? Navigating yourself, navigating your emotions, navigating
relationships,
relationships.
triggers, everything.
Holy. I
It's
mean,
literally like traveling through it. It's like such a journey, right? And
yeah.
that's why I feel like it was like a fast path of life. It was a fast track of life and growth. And I think on the last day when I had this sharing circle with my friends, it was like somebody said, like, I'm gonna need so much therapy from this. Because like I think the same person said that this was like a fast path of life and growth, and I'm gonna need so much therapy from this. And it was like so
Mm.
true because whoa, you just were faced with everything possible.
Yeah, like it stirred it up, which is
And
like,
everything,
but that's
everything.
good because at least it's all there on the blackboard. Right? It's not like hidden underneath something. It's at least there for you to decide what you want to work on next. And you don't have to work on it all at once, but
Yeah,
at least it's out.
definitely. At least it's out on the blackboard. Oh
Yeah.
man, for sure. Yeah, if what I'm supposed to come out of this whole travel journey with is a full blackboard,
Yeah.
then that is like I won.
Yeah.
If that's what it is. Because I feel like
Yeah.
I know myself, just I know everything. No, I'm not gonna say that because then that just
You know
limits how much
so
more
much more,
I
right?
know. So much
There's more to
more. Oh,
learn.
there's always more to learn for sure, but it really was just like putting myself in a microscope and just like analyzing everything.
Ooh.
Like an
Oh, look
ant,
at this
just like
little
literally
part right
everything.
here.
Pick this apart now.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love this. So, like, there doesn't have to be anything. So, I'm not suggesting this at all. You don't have to have any answer. You don't have to have anything wrapped up in a nice bow. You don't have to have your whole life journey like ahead of you. But is there something that you're at least moving toward next?
Yeah. So I will share this to hold myself accountable. I just committed to, I'm not going to say what it is, but I just committed to doing a project that will be very public and it will share my
Uh-huh.
story. It will share my story in a very public way, which is something that I have not done much of. I have been very reserved and I've had conversations and had 2 podcasts released with you, but to really dive deep into the complexity that is my life and my mind and my journey, I have not done so. So it's something that I've been wanting to do for the past, honestly, like 2, 3 years, and I've
Oh,
never really prioritized it. And I was on a call with a dear group of mine last week, and they learned about this, and they lovingly pushed me to set a deadline and to just
yeah.
do it. And I
Mm.
committed to doing it by my next birthday, which is in less than a month, which is crazy to me.
Oh my God.
So now that I'm saying it, yeah, out loud, it's a lot more of a commitment, but I'm doing it. So that's what's
That's
next. It's
amazing. And don't also like I love the accountability of it. Don't feel like whatever it is has got to be perfect,
it's not going to
right?
be, no.
Yeah. Like whatever it is sort of the next step. And I think that you are going to inspire a lot of people.
Mhm.
I
It
really
means
do.
a lot.
You're awesome, though. You always were. I mean, come
Thank
on.
you. I
from
mean,
like minute one that I talked to you. So, I mean,
yeah, I mean, that is definitely not why I'm doing it, but it's such an incredible feeling to, and I've had people tell me this, like seeing you just travel and do these things just really make me want to, and I know what that feels like because when I've seen other people take these big, bold moves and seek discomfort, which is such a huge model in my life, from Yes Theory, I'll quote them since they're such an inspiration for me, but seeking discomfort. And they really believe that the best things out of life come outside of your comfort zone.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
just sharing that
so
story,
good.
I'm sure will be impactful.
What is it like? Rock sharpens steel. I don't know if that's the right analogy.
Okay.
There's something about like a hard thing sharpens the knife.
I mean,
You know what I
pressure
mean?
makes
So
diamonds,
much
Some
better said. Like rocks sharpen steel. Pressure makes diamonds is so much more lovely and understandable. Oh my
but
gosh.
I get it. I totally get it. But yeah.
It's so true.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that also the message there is that what is your year abroad? You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be travel. It can be something else. That's very individual.
Mm-hmm.
And not you, others need to find out what their journey is. I love that. Yuri, this is amazing. Before we wrap it up, is there anything else that you want to just kind of say or capture that maybe we didn't touch on?
What's coming up for me, and the last thing I want to share is to just remind people to be kind to themselves and to really love themselves, because one thing that really hammered home to me in my journeys is that I will be in my longest relationship and I can be quite mean to myself. And that's just a tough way of living. And I know a lot of people are hard on themselves as well. So I think what I really want to put out into the world is to remind people to be kind and love themselves first.
So beautiful. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything and for just sharing your journey and your thoughts about your journey and how much it has helped you to go inside and uncover the absolute beautiful gorgeousness, intelligent, fun, incredible person that you are. I love you.
Thank you so much. I love you so much.
Mwah. This is the She Leads Podcast Network.